Welcome. I'm here with another MCQ for you. This MCQ is really based on a simple concept, but it takes longer time to be figured out because there are numerous steps required to obtain the final answer. So that's why it will take a longer time, but it is really simple, believe me. So let's have a look onto the MCQ. A car traveled equal distances with speeds 10 mile per hour, 20 mile per hour and 60 mile per hour in the same direction. The speed of car throughout the journey is 9 mile per hour, 18 mile per hour, 27 mile per hour and 36 mile per hour. So these are the four answers and one of these answers will be the correct one. In order to reach to the correct answer, we have to recall the concept of average velocity, because the velocity that is from starting point to the end point is known as average velocity. Throughout the journey is the average velocity. So the basic idea of average velocity is total distance divided by total time. I am mentioning t here in order to indicate total. So t total. Now we have to assume the distance because distance is not mentioned, but we are told that the part of distance traveled with this speed, first speed, second and third are equal. So I am assuming that in each part the distance traveled is s. This is the distance with each velocity. Okay, so when the s is the distance traveled with each velocity, means s with 10 mile per hour, s with 20 mile per hour, s with 60 mile per hour. So the total distance s total will be equal to 3s. So this is the total distance. It is really simple. But now we have to determine the total time. And the total time can be determined with the help of this equation. T is equal to S over V. If we are going to determine the first time, T1 means S1 over V1. If we want to determine the second time, S2 divided by V2. In the same way for T3, S3 and V3. So let's determine this time for all the different cases. T1, that is S over 10, and T2 is S over 20, T3 is S over 60. The total time will be the sum of all. So S by 10, S by 20 and S by 60. So the T total will be equal to, what is LCM here? LCM is 60. So 60 divided by 10, 6s, plus 60 divided by 20, 3s, plus 60 by 60, 1s. So the time is, total time is 10s by 60. We can say T is s by 6. So this is the total time, and here is the total distance. This is total distance, this is total time. Now average velocity is determined. S is 3s divided by time s by 6. So 3s multiplied by 6 by s. So s cancelled and V average is equal to 18 mile per hour. So this is the correct answer. It is really simple mathematics, multiplication, division, addition. But we have to go through the parts. As I told you earlier, that we have to go in different steps. So by following these steps, you can determine the correct answer for this question. And another thing, that you can solve this question by assuming a particular number for the distance as well. So let's assume the distance traveled in each with each of velocity is like, you can assume any distance. Like I'm assuming that the distance traveled in each part is 60 miles. This is the distance in each part. So the total distance S total will be equal to 180, because 3 distances will be added. The total distance will be 180 mile. Okay, the next part is now to determine the times. When velocity is 10 mile per hour, in that case how much time is required to cover the 60 mile? 10 mile in 1 hour, 10 mile in second hour, 10 mile in third hour, means I am concluding that 6 hours will be required. When velocity is 20 mile per hour, now how much time is required? 3 hours are required. When velocity is 60 mile per hour, only 1 hour is required. So what is the total time? Total time is 10 hours. Now you can determine the velocity. That average velocity is 180 miles divided by 10 hours. So it is really simple, that it will be 18 miles per hour. So the answer is same. No matter you are assuming whatever the value of distance, you can assume any value, but I'm going to suggest you that you have to assume the value that will give you the integer answer. So if you are assuming such value which is giving you fractional number, so it will be a confusing thing. It can be solved through the fractional values as well, but for the addition, for the multiplication purposes, it is really difficult to deal with a fractional value. That's why my recommendation to you people is that you have to assume, you have to suppose such a value that is much easier to add, divide, multiply with the other numbers. So this is the all story about the average velocity when the distances are same. If we have such a case, but there are two velocities just, then we have a shortcut method which is known as the harmonic mean, the formula of harmonic mean. For the two velocities, such type of scenario, we can use this equation 2v1 v2 over v1 plus v2. This is the shortcut method for the two velocities I remember, and for three velocities I don't remember that there is any shortcut, but there might be a shortcut method or extension in this formula, but I remember this formula for the two velocities. You can Google it out, that is there any formula, particular shortcut formula to determine the average velocity in such case when the velocities are 3 or the 4 or the 5 or the multiple velocities. So you can find out this thing, but for the 2 this is the shortcut method, this is the detailed method, and it will not take a longer time. You can solve the problem in within a minute, and in every test the time allowed for a question is around about a minute. So that's why it is not a big deal. You can use this method because it is easier one, or you can memorize the formula that I mentioned you. So good luck to you all for your future tests.